be getting our acceleration here with this Altima. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a 2021 Nissan Altima in the SR package with all-wheel drive. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray, Utah for giving me some time with this Altima. Check out their inventory on the link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the Altima, we have a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that goes through a CVT automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 25 around town and then 35 on the highway, with power outputs being 182 horsepower and then 178 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front end of this Altima. I absolutely love this metallic gray color. I feel like it's coming through pretty well onto the camera. But first off, the hood, I love the body lines, and this color really shows them. And then we do have these full LED lights with the LED accent lights. And then notice that the turn signal is actually just down below with kind of like this fake venting right there, but it's a cool accent piece. And then you still get the Nissan smiley face there on the front end. And then just look how bright those lights are. Like you can see it on, well, you could see it on my hand for a second there. And then the Nissan logo does double as a sensor, which is pretty cool. But yeah, overall, I feel like the front end of the Altima is just really good looking. Coming around the side here, we've got two 35mm tires wrapped around 19-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And then as for the design themselves on the wheels, I feel like they're pretty cool looking. It's got this like nice modern metallic design that goes with the rest of the theme of the Altima. Something that's pretty interesting right here is the gap here on the hood. So the hood's fully closed, and we'll actually pop over the other side to see if it's the same. Yeah, it's the same over there on the other side. I don't know if that's just like a thing, but it's pretty interesting. It definitely like kind of leaves an opening there on the side. Maybe that's what they intended design wise, because you kind of have like that little portion right there, and then it kind of matches here on the side. So maybe I'm just dumb and that's what they kind of like intended design wise. I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And then notice that you've got the blacked out mirror as well, and there's your full side view. Popping into the trunk of the Altima, you guys will notice that you've got a bunch of floor mat action happening back here, but from a storage space perspective, I like the storage space back here is really good. The opening's definitely really wide, really easy to access, and other than that, that's the back. So, well, so yeah. Now let's go to the back end here of the Altima. So first off, you've got all of your badges back here with like the SR badge, the all-wheel drive badge, all that kind of stuff. And then you've got these signature Altima taillights that pop out here to the side. And then no, it doesn't have a spoiler. It almost looks like it because of how they've done the bodywork right here. I love the dual exhaust tips here at the bottom, parking sensors as well. And then that's the back end. Now here's the door panel in the rear. So first off, you've got this really nice leather here with the orange stitching, which I think looks really cool. And then you got the carbon fiber trim. And then here are the seats in the back. So again, more of the black leather with the orange stitching. And then you got this cool design here in the center portion that's actually cloth, which feels really nice to the touch if you ask me. But let's actually pop in. So got to duck a little bit because it's a sedan. But once I'm in here, headroom, well, I'm 5'11". I pretty much go to the top. Legroom though. Legroom is where it's at in the back of the Altima. And then you guys can see you got a couple USBs, and then this does pull down to be a couple cup holders. And that's all for the back. Now here's the door panel at the front of the Altima. So again, you've got the carbon fiber trim here at the top, and then you've got all of the leather with the orange stitching, and then more carbon fiber trim, all of your window controls, and then your mirror adjustments. And then here are the seats at the front. So again, nice leather here with the orange stitching, and then notice that you've got kind of like the design there in the center with all the cloth there in the center portion. The seats are power adjustable, and then here's a look at the pedals here at the bottom portion, and then up here you've got little trunk release, and then the steering wheel is manually adjustable. And there's one more look before we pop in. Now here's the steering wheel in the Altima. So first off, you've got the black leather around the whole steering wheel, and then you've got that orange stitching there on the center portion. Again, I love how open the design is here on the steering wheel. Paddles there on the back for the CVT if you do want to shift it yourself, even though it's not a regular automatic transmission. And then you've got your voice command controls, your cruise control as well, controls for the center stack, and then your volume controls. And then you got the stock right there for the turn signal and the lights. And then you have the stock for the windshield wipers on the other side. And that's the steering wheel. Here's the center gauge cluster. You've got the RPMs on the left side. On the right side, you've got the speed. And then you've got that giant screen there in the center, which will actually give you bits of information on the Altima itself. You can see the radio, and then you guys can see the stuff on the safety tech. So pretty cool little setup right there, but I guess we'll just leave it to be a digital speedo for now. And here's the center infotainment system. First off, if we pop it into reverse, we've got a backup camera that has trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. Resolution on the camera system is actually pretty good. And then as for the rest of the screen, response time on all the buttons are pretty good. I mean, you press something and it pretty much instantaneously happens. You can pair your phone to this. It's got like regular Bluetooth, all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's integrated really nicely into the dash. Like you guys can see kind of like the overall setup with it. I think it looks pretty nice. And yeah, I just think it's a good infotainment system. Now down below, we do have our climate controls. This does have just a single zone climate, but you do get heated seats here for the front passengers, which I have mine on because it's a little bit cold and windy today. And then down here, we can see that you've got some USBs and a 12 volt and then some extra storage. Here is the shifter for that CVT automatic, and then you do have like a low range if you are driving down like a canyon or something like that. And then we've got our stop start right there. Couple cup holders with all of the carbon fiber trim around them. And then here's the center console, so you got more of that orange stitching. Notice that orange stitching's everywhere. Opening it up, storage space is pretty good. And then notice the orange stitching continues here onto the dash, and then opening up the glove box, again, more storage space as well. But yeah, that's kind of like that whole setup. Now up top here, we do have the little sunglass holder, and then we've got just a traditional sunroof, and then you do have the mirror dimmer right there. And other than that, there's not much else to say up top. Now that we're done going to the interior on the Altima, let's quickly get into the pricing. So in terms of pricing, this Altima with all-wheel drive in the SR package stickers for about $30,000 before any type of market adjustment. That all being said, let's take this Altima out and see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off here in this Altima with all-wheel drive. So visibility over the hood is really good. It's really easy to see out of, and I love just like there's so much like stitching and leather all over this car. It definitely makes it feel like really nice. There's visibility through both of the mirrors. And then here's all throughout the rest of the rear. So from a visibility standpoint, it's actually really good for a sedan. And let's set off. We are initially setting off here in this all-wheel drive Altima, and so far I really like how this car drives and everything. It's just, it feels really nice, and the fact that it's only $30,000 is pretty surprising. But getting up and going, steering's really nice. It's very light, and you really just don't have to put any sort of effort into it. But there definitely is some nice directness to it, which is definitely a nice little touch here with the Altima. And well, of course, I ran into the worst amount of traffic. That's an interesting transport truck. All the truck has is Mini Coopers and Dodges, or sorry, Rams. Like there's like no in between. It's like we're either gonna carry trucks or Mini Coopers, the biggest car or the smallest car. That's it. That's pretty funny. But getting up and going, it's got good torque. Ride quality is pretty smooth. I'd rate that at average for most sedans in this segment. And yeah, I mean, it's getting pretty windy. Actually, it's about to storm again, so hopefully I get this video done in time before it starts snowing. But I mean, we're good, because this does have all-wheel drive, so even if it does snow, then that's not even going to be an issue. Yeah, the steering's really nice. Like, there's a very nice amount of directness to this steering. Like, I really like it. I am going to go into the manual mode here. For some reason, it's not letting me go into it. Usually with most of these, you can just press the paddles. Oh, there we go. Now it lets me go to the manual mode. I guess you have to be moving, and then it'll let you go into the manual mode. Yeah, that's pretty nice. It's pretty quick with the ratios and everything. Again, it's a CVT, so it doesn't actually have these gears that it's displaying there. It's just kind of letting you know. It's pretty cool, the technology they have to be able to make it look like a CVT does have gears. And we'll see if we hold the plus paddle. Yep, so if you hold the plus paddle, it'll go back into drive, but you do have to be moving to get into the manual mode, which is definitely interesting. Going over these train tracks, we'll kind of see how it handles. Yeah, it does pretty well with the train tracks. Like, it just doesn't really upset it. This is the train tracks that you have to be careful over. So these ones you have to go a little bit slower because it kind of makes the vehicle like bounce. And so if you go like fast enough, you can like catch some air with the butt of the vehicle. I learned that with my Raptor one day because I went over them a little bit too fast. But yeah, so far, I'm digging this new Altima. So this is kind of like our bumpy road test here, and I'm still in the manual mode because it's actually fun to drive this in the manual mode. But going over these little bumps and everything, yeah, none of this really upsets the Altima. It's very nice in terms of, again, the ride quality, like I said before, but the car doesn't go all over the place. Like, again, this is the perfect road for testing this. It's horrible. And the car's just riding over it so smooth. It's not upsetting the car. It's just doing a really good job. So I'm just definitely impressed with that. And the handling's nice. It drives pretty flat when you go put it into corners and all that. It's definitely kind of has like a sportier feel to it. And the downshifts aren't bad either. It's relatively quick with the response time, and the ratios are pretty close together. So you do have to be shifting quite a bit, but it's pretty decent. And well, there's a lot of traffic, so I'll see you guys in a second. We are going to be getting our acceleration here with this Altima. Now it feels like a CVT. So when you're partial throttle, it doesn't feel too much like a CVT, but once you're full throttle, you can definitely feel it. And like I said, it's pretty quick. Like you guys can see, I press the paddle, pretty quick response time, and then same thing on the upshifts. Press the paddle, pretty quick response time, but it definitely has that CVT. It's hard to explain, but like when you actually shift with the CVT, it kind of like drags it just a little. It's like a weird feeling. It's smooth with the transition, but it kind of drags it a little bit, and that'll get me to summing things up with this Altima. So first off, props to Nissan for making this all-wheel drive. Absolutely love that, especially living here in Utah. Adds to the practicality by a substantial amount. From the styling perspective, I feel like it's a good looking car on the outside, and the interior, I'm in love with it. I love the accenting with the orange. I definitely think that it makes this interior look a whole lot nicer, and then all the nice soft touch points, like it really brings up the interior quality. Like this feels like a more expensive car from an interior standpoint. And then from the technology, the infotainment system's great. The camera system is, I mean, it's normal, right? And then from the driving perspective, it's smooth, it's nice, it's pretty quiet. Unless you're full throttle, then you can hear quite a bit of engine noise from the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. And then from the acceleration perspective, it's right where it needs to be. All of the competitors are right about this amount from a power perspective. So overall, I think the Altima is a really solid offering, and the fact that it has all-wheel drive kind of puts it a little bit ahead. That is going to sum things up for a video on this 2021 Nissan Altima in the SR package with all-wheel drive. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray, Utah for giving me some time with this Altima. Check out their inventory in the link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.